is the Mythos Games channel, and you've tuned into the thrilling conclusion of Pandemic. Our dispatcher currently has 2 blue cards, 2 yellow cards, and 1 black card. Our dispatcher currently has 4 red cards, and she's waiting in Jakarta to receive a 5th red card from our medic, and she also has 3 yellow cards. And our medic currently has 5 blue cards. He's ready to cure this blue disease, and 2 red cards. Also remember, we've run into 4 of our 5 epidemic cards, and we've also removed Shanghai as a resilient population. It's late in the game, and we only have 1 of our 4 diseases cured. But if everything goes according to plan over these next couple of turns, this situation should be a lot better very, very soon. So it's our medic's turn. Now our medic has 5 blue cards in his hand, which means we know for sure we're moving to the research station to cure the blue disease. But after that, there's some options. Taipei is sitting here with 3 cubes on it, waiting to potentially blow up in an outbreak. And if it outbreaks, of course, we have to put a cube on Shanghai, which means that Shanghai will also outbreak. So that would be a 2 outbreak chain reaction that we would be risking by allowing Taipei to just sit there. But this late in the game, I think we've got to take some chances, and I think it's actually worth our taking the chance to go ahead and cure the blue disease and then move down to Jakarta and give our Jakarta card to the researcher so that she can cure the red disease on her turn, which is the 2 turns away from the medic's turn here. So that's what we're going to do. So the medic moves down to the research station in Bangkok, 1. Then he plays his 5 blue cards in order to find a cure for the blue disease, 2. And let's not forget to move our disease marker up, halfway to victory. Then he's going to move down to Jakarta, 3, to be in the same city as the researcher so that on her turn she can take the Jakarta card from him. And then he's going to, with his last action, take these 2 red cubes off of Jakarta, 4. And now our medic draws 2 cards. Let's see what we get. A yellow card, Buenos Aires. And another yellow card, Santiago. And now our medic has to infect 3 cities. First, Karachi. Now Karachi already has 3 cubes on it. So because that's the case, it outbreaks. So we add a cube to Delhi, 1 to Mumbai, 1 to Riyadh, and 1 to Baghdad, and also 1 to Tehran. And of course we move our outbreak meter down once again from 2 to 3. Man, that was only the first card. We've got 2 more to go. It's got to get better from here, right? Hope so. Let's see what happens. Khartoum. Khartoum's pretty safe. That's not too bad. And finally, London. That puts London at 3 cubes. We've got some outbreak risks on the board now. So now it's our dispatcher's turn. And really the best thing the dispatcher can do for us right now, rather than moving the other pawns around because we need them to be in the same cities here for the next couple of turns, is to just take some cubes off the board. Now, once a disease is cured, all of the players get the medic's power, which means they can take all of a cured disease's cubes out of a city with 1 action. So I think what we'll do with the dispatcher is we'll move him to Riyadh, 1, have him clear Riyadh, 2, then have him move to Karachi, 3, and clear Karachi, 4. By doing that, we take 5 cubes off the board and give ourselves a little bit of breathing room when it comes to black. And now our dispatcher draws 2 cards. First a yellow card, Lima. And second, a black card, Karachi. And that puts our dispatcher at the 7-card limit. He's got 2 blue, 3 yellow, and 2 black. And now for our dispatcher's turn, we infect 3 more cities. First, New York. This also puts New York in the 3-cube outbreak range. Especially dangerous because if it outbreaks, it triggers London, or vice versa, because they're just across the pond from one another. Next we have Riyadh. We just cleared Riyadh, so we're not that worried about it. And finally, Istanbul. All in all, not too bad. So now it's our researcher's turn, and we find ourselves in a very interesting situation in that if everything goes according to plan, we should be able to win the game in another 2 turns. Our researcher will go first, and then our medic will go. Both of them are currently in Jakarta, and both of them are 1 space away from a research station. So, if we play this right, we should win the game on the next turn. Let's see what happens. So the very first thing we want to do for our researcher is first pass a card to our medic. The reason for that is the second action we'll do is to pass this Jakarta card. See, it's Jakarta right there, which is the city they're in, from the medic to the researcher. But if he did that first, she'd have to discard a card because she'd be over the 7-card limit. So the first thing we'll do is make room for the Jakarta card by passing one of these yellow cards to the medic. So that's 1. Then, for action 2, she'll share information again with the medic. Now the researcher obviously can pass cards or have cards taken from her in any city, regardless of what's on the card. But to receive cards, she's got to be in the proper city. Lucky for her, both her and the medic are in Jakarta. So, action 2 is to receive the Jakarta card from the medic, which sets her up with 5 red, and still holding on to her 2 yellow. She's still at the 7-card limit, but she doesn't have to discard anything. Then, for action 3, she's going to move from Jakarta to the research station here in Bangkok. And then for her 4th and final action, she's going to use the 5 cards that she now has, 5 red cards, to find a cure for the red disease. And that puts us 1 cure away from victory. Our researcher now draws 2 cards. We really don't care what these are, so long as they're not an epidemic card. An epidemic here could mess us up a little bit, but if we don't hit an epidemic, we should win on the medic's turn, which is the next turn to come. So we're going to draw 2 cards and hope against hope that neither one of these is an epidemic. Let's see what happens. Safe on the first one. And now, safe on the second one. Victory is in our grasp. And now our researcher has to infect 3 cities. Let's see what we get. First, Essen. Next, Tehran. And finally, Sydney. Our medic can see Sydney from Jakarta and he says, "Ha! I'm going to win the game on my next turn." And so here it is, our medic's turn, the last turn of the game. First thing we're going to do is move from Jakarta to Bangkok, where the researcher is and where the research station is. Then we're going to receive from the researcher 2 yellow cards, action 2 and action 3. And then, with our dispatcher just there in the distance, our medic turns in his 5 yellow cards, thus curing the yellow disease and winning the game. Our researcher and our medic, having just cured 2 diseases by sharing knowledge back and forth, fall in love and live happily ever after. After all, it's the stuff that epic romances are made of. So, that's Pandemic. Some final thoughts on the game. This time through, Pandemic really wasn't all that threatening. I've had games that have been much more tense and much scarier and much more stressful, and this one really never got to be that stressful really in any way. I mean, even when we ended the game, we only ended up at 3 outbreaks, which isn't too bad. And in the player deck here, we've still got another 9 cards. I think I counted them out, so that would have been another 4 turns. You know, really not all that much pressure. I think we got really lucky with our initial distribution. We had our 3s really spread out throughout the board, and that made it pretty easy. And then really we ended up focusing on this area pretty heavily. We really didn't have anything going on down here except for at the very beginning of the game, and so not having to travel all across the board made things a bit easier for us too. That being said, we did do some things well, and these are kind of strategy tips for those of you who have played Pandemic and who really enjoy it. There is some strategy to it. Really, Pandemic is more a puzzle than a game. You can improve at it. You can get better and better. And so yes, we did some things well strategy-wise. We controlled our 3s. We made sure that we didn't have situations where things were going to outbreak. So that when an epidemic came, we minimized our risk from the epidemic. That was good. We leveraged our special abilities really well. We used the special abilities of the players. We were able to move the medic around the board through cured areas and knock disease cubes off. We were able to use the dispatcher to move the other pawns around. We used the researcher's special ability to pass cards to the other players. We did all that really well. And also the other thing is we kept the main thing the main thing. The main thing in this game is finding cures to diseases. I think a lot of times people try to chase eradications. They'll try to knock a disease entirely off the board so that when it comes up it won't affect you. And sometimes you can chase an eradication when it's not there. If an eradication is not coming to you, you just got to let that go. And instead try to focus on the main thing, which is curing diseases. But all in all, this went pretty well. Now obviously there's a lot of things you can do in Pandemic to increase your difficulty level. You can add in that 6th epidemic card, which is pretty good. That increases the increases the difficulty quite a bit. The other thing you can do is increase the number of players. It does get harder with the more players you have because your cards are going to be spread through more turns, through more people. So it's much easier with 2 than it is with 4. There's still some room, obviously, to increase the difficulty of the game by increasing both the number of epidemics and the number of players. And of course now there are 2 expansions for this game that are out that also increase difficulty and add some wrinkles. There's lots of new fun and new challenges with Pandemic. Lots of things still to be done with this game. So anyway, that wraps up our playthrough of Pandemic. As we close out this video, I do want to recognize a few guys on YouTube who have been kind of the inspiration to me to start this thing up. So a couple of shout outs here at the end to Ricky Royal of the Box of Delights game channel. If you've not watched his playthroughs, they're excellent, they're really good. Tragic the Blathering, I enjoy his playthroughs a lot. They're really fun and he's so entertaining, and they're really strong as well. And also Mythos Gamer. These are the guys who I watched their videos online and thought, you know what, I think I'd enjoy doing that. And so they're really the reasons why I'm trying this out. If you enjoyed this series, please click subscribe, and so that way you won't miss out on any future videos that I choose to do. I'd really like to do more of these, so please leave your thoughts and your feedback in the comments and let me know what you liked and what you didn't like, and tell me what you'd like to see played next on the channel here, and we'll see what we can do. So anyway, that's it for now. Until then, thanks for watching the Theophilus Games channel, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.